Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking through a couple player props I like on Prizepicks for tonight's NBA slate on Thursday, May the 11th. We do have two games tonight. We got Game 6 of the Sixers and Celtics series. The Sixers are up 3-2 in that one. They got a chance to close things out at home. And then we got Game 6 of the Nuggets and Suns series. The Suns are going back home, trying to keep this series alive. They're down 3-2 to the Nuggets. So we got some elimination games tonight. These should be some fun ones. Hopefully we get some good competitive games. And I do have two player props I like for tonight, guys. I do have a play that I like from each game. I got two fantasy score props that I'm liking. So we're going to talk through these two plays. We're going to share why I like them. Before we do get started, though, breaking down the plays, as always, if you guys do enjoy these Prizepicks videos, if they do help you out, please hit that like button down below. Hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. And if you guys are new to the channel, if you have never checked out Prizepicks before, you can actually sign up for Prizepicks and use my promo code Noah. When you do sign up for Prizepicks with my promo code, you will get your first deposit matched up to $100. Be sure to check them out. If you have not yet, use that code when you sign up, and you will get your deposit bonus when you do sign up. Now, I want to recap our plays from our last video before we do talk through today's plays. So I did not make a video for Wednesday, but I did make a video for Tuesday. We gave out two plays on Tuesday's video. We did hit both of those plays. So hopefully you guys did tail. We took the over on Jaylen Brown's points at 23.5. I know that line did get bumped up to 24.5. So hopefully you guys were able to get it at 23.5 because he did finish. Jaylen Brown did finish with 24 points. And it was, he should have had way more than 24 points. If you watched that game, I think Jaylen Brown missed like 5 free throws. He missed some free throws late in the game that would have put him over his bump line too. But we originally took his line at 23.5. He did go over that. They did make Jaylen Brown a taco on Tuesday. His taco projection was 21.5. So I guess you could have took that as well if you didn't want to take the original prop, assuming you were betting like $25 or less. But Jaylen Brown did go over 23.5 points, and then we also took the over on Michael Porter Jr.'s fantasy score. Michael Porter Jr. once again had a really good game. He came out red hot. He was knocking down a ton of shots right out of the gate. I think he finished with like 35 or 36 fantasy points. Went pretty well over his projection. So did hit both those plays on Tuesday. Hopefully you guys did tail, and let's try and do it again for this Thursday slate. So for tonight's games, for the first game, the Celtics and the Sixers, I want to talk about Jason Tatum's fantasy score. So this line sits at 52. It is pretty high, I will be honest. But if you look at Tatum so far in this series, he's gone over this line in 3 out of 5 games. Obviously he had that one game. It was just a complete outlier game. I think that was game 2 of the series. He was in massive foul trouble that game. He played like 20 minutes. It was also a blowout. That was a game that I think the Celtics won by like 30 points. Just complete outlier game. The other game, he lost by half a point. He finished with 51.5. But the other 3 games, 64.7, 67.6, and 59.5. So Tatum, from a fantasy point perspective, has been really good so far in the series. And I think, if you look at his box score, he's really been like contributing on the boards. He's been getting assists. He's been stuffing the stat sheet. It's not like Tatum has, it's not like he's been going out there and scoring like 40 points. He's been actually, he's not even having like huge scoring games. He's just racking up all the stats. I mean, game 5 or game 4, he had only 24 points, but he had 18 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal, and 4 blocks. Now, I don't know if we can expect Tatum to have like 4 blocks every game, but clearly, he's one of these guys that can do everything when he's on the floor. He's not really a scoring-dependent player, and even on the nights where maybe his shot isn't falling, he could still get you there with fantasy points because he can get rebounds and get assists and get defensive stats. And he's been a very productive per-minute producer all throughout his career. This season, in terms of fantasy points per minute, Tatum's averaged 1.35 fantasy points per minute. So far in the playoffs, it's been pretty similar, 1.32 fantasy points per minute. And then you look in this series, he's been really good in this series. The Sixers, really, they've done a somewhat good job kind of slowing down Tatum. Like outside of game 1, and I guess last game when he scored 36 points, he did score 39 points in game 1. Outside of like those 2 games, Tatum really hasn't had like many huge scoring games in this series. It's just that he's been doing everything besides scoring. Like he's rebounding, he's assisting, he's getting defensive stats. And that's kind of why I like this over fantasy score, because you do get points for all that stuff, for rebounds, assists, steals and blocks. And Tatum's going to play massive minutes here. Last game played 40 minutes. The game before that he played 47. I think that game did go to overtime, but this is a must-win game for the Celtics. If they lose this game, their season's over. And we've seen Jason Tatum be a player that can handle playing huge minutes. I mean, you look at last night with the Heat and the Knicks. Look at the Knicks. They were they were going to get eliminated if they lost that game. Jalen Brunson played the entire game. Quentin Grimes played the entire game. I'm not saying that Jason Tatum's going to play the entire game, but I think it's like in the range of outcomes, and I would not be surprised if Tatum does play 48 minutes. I doubt it happens, but I think he's got a very good chance to play like 42, 43 minutes here. He's going to do everything when he's on the floor. Usage has been great. Last game, his usage rate was up to like 37%, which we love to see that. He's taken a ton of shots. Even when his shot's not falling, he can still get you there with rebounds, assists, and steals and blocks. So for fantasy score, you get points for all that stuff, and I think this is a play that I do like quite a bit. In a must-win game, I do expect Tatum to play well here. I expect him to play massive minutes, and I know the line of 52 does feel high, but Tatum's been great in this series. He's been super productive. Just gonna kind of keep riding this hot streak or this little hot run that he's on, and hopefully he'll have another good game here and a must-win game. So over 52 fantasy score for Jason Tatum is the first play that I like for today, and then the other play that I like is Jamal Murray's fantasy score. This line sits at 40. This is one that I've been playing a lot in the playoffs, especially when it's been like 39, 39 and a half, 40. I think last slate it was up to like 42 and a half or 43, and I didn't play it then. But anytime this line for Jamal Murray is like below 42, like 41, 40, 39, I just feel like that's a little bit too low for Jamal Murray. And you look at so far in the playoffs, this is a line that he has gone over in a good amount of their playoff games. They played 5 games against Denver. He went over this fantasy score line in 4 out of 5 games against Denver. He only had one game where he didn't go over. That was game 4. He put up 31.9 fantasy points. And then so far against Phoenix, he's over this line in 3 out of 5 games. I mean, you take a look at the games where he went under, though. Like the game 2, he just played like terribly. He shot 3 for 15. He had just 23 fantasy points. Last game came up just short, and that was after having like a terrible first half. Like I can't remember how many fantasy points Jamal Murray had at halftime last game, but I think he had like 6 fantasy points at halftime, and then he really started to get going in the second half. Finished with 35 fantasy points. But yeah, like Jamal Murray's a good per minute producer. The minutes have been great for him so far in the playoffs, and you look at so far in the series, 37, 39, 41, 42, and 37 minutes. And some of these games where he played like 37 minutes, those were games where he got subbed out early. Last game, he did get subbed out early with about 3.5 minutes left because the game was out of hand. And Murray was on pace to play about 40, 41 minutes in that game. He's going to play 40, 41 minutes here. Obviously, this is not a must-win game for the Nuggets, but you would think the Nuggets just want to try and close things out here. Get some extra rest before they get ready for the Western Conference Finals. So I do expect the Nuggets to treat this like a very important game. They're going to play their guys huge minutes. I'm expecting 40-plus minutes for Jamal Murray here. And I do like that this game is being played in Phoenix. I don't think they're nearly as good as Denver, and I think between these two teams, Phoenix is the much worse team. Also, I think, if there was any team that could blow, one of these teams out, it would be Denver. I think Denver is a lot more likely to blow out Phoenix than Phoenix, blowing out Denver. So I think Phoenix, playing at home here, I think that makes it a lot more likely the game stays competitive. You see the spread. I think the spread in this game is like 2.5. So these are games that should be close tonight. The Sixers are playing at home. I know they're up in this series, but between these two teams, the Sixers and the Celtics, I personally think the Celtics are the better team, even though they're down in the series. So I like that game's being played in Philadelphia. I think that's a game that's probably going to be competitive, and I think this game being played in Phoenix makes it more likely Phoenix can keep it close here. I really, I don't see any way Phoenix blows out Denver unless like Kevin Durant and Devin Booker both combined for like 50 points, because Phoenix is just getting no offense from anyone else besides those two guys. But I think playing in front of their home crowd, the momentum's going to be there. The fans, they're going to get these guys ready to play. They're going to be cheering these guys on. So I'm expecting a close game from both these two games. In close games, Jamal Murray again been playing like 40, 41, 42 minutes. He's going to average most likely well over a fantasy point per minute. So far this season, Murray's averaged 1.08 fantasy points per minute. In the playoffs, his fantasy production has been even better, 1.13 fantasy points per minute. And I think in the games, if you look in the games where he's played over 40 minutes, there's been 4 games where he's played over 40 minutes in the playoffs. Obviously, had that down game against Minnesota, 31.9, but then he had 50.7, 48.3, and 47.5 fantasy points. So, yeah, if we're getting 40-plus minutes from Jamal Murray, I like his chances of averaging over a fantasy point per minute, which he normally does, and going over 40 fantasy score. Again, I feel like anytime Jamal Murray's line is like 39.5, 40, 41. It looks pretty appealing. Once it gets to like 42, 43, I feel like that's probably where it should be. So once I saw this projection at 40, this was a line that I definitely liked. And I know Murray didn't have the best game last game, but we've seen so far in the postseason, usually after Murray has kind of a down game, he'll bounce back in a big way. When he had, you take a look at his game log so far in the playoffs, after he had that 31.9 fantasy point game against Minnesota, the next game he bounced back for 48 fantasy points. You saw against Phoenix in game 2 of the series, he had 23. Next game, bounced back with 50 fantasy points. Last game was a disappointing game for Murray, just 35 fantasy points. Would expect him to play better here, and I think he does have a good chance to finish with more than 40 fantasy points. So that's enough rambling there. These are the two plays I do like for tonight's slate, guys. Kind of trusting some stars here. Something that I've been doing a lot in the playoffs, and sometimes it's worked, sometimes it hasn't, but I feel like if you're going to bet on anyone in the playoffs, you want to be betting on the guys that are going to have the ball in their hands the most. That's hopefully that'll be the case here with Tatum and Murray. I think these fantasy score lines for both these guys should be maybe like 1 or 2 points higher. I know so far in the playoffs, man, like when you're looking at these lines, the lines are super sharp. It's hard to find a ton of edge in the playoffs because the lines are just so tight. But these are fantasy score lines that I think probably are a couple points too low. But this is what I'm liking for tonight's slate, guys. So hope you enjoyed this video. Appreciate you watching. If you guys enjoyed, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you have not yet, and be sure to check out Prizepicks as well. If you guys are not signed up for Prizepicks yet, get signed up over there. Use that promo code NOAH. When you do sign up, you will get your first deposit matched up to $100 when you sign up with my promo code. But that's all that I got for tonight, guys. Wish you the best of luck on this slate. Hope you guys win some money tonight. We'll see you in the next video.